Hey guys, what's going on? Just wanted to take a second just to talk about push-ups, because with everybody doing at-home workouts, I know there's a lot of push-ups going on because it's one of the basic exercises that you can do anytime, anywhere, and it's so fantastic. It's such a great strength builder. But you want to do really good push-ups. So I kind of default to a military style push-up. The main thing about push-ups is you want to protect your shoulders, right? So think about the longevity of your training. If you want to be able to do stuff in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, you want to have good working joints, right? So you don't want to overload your shoulders too much, especially on a push-up. If your shoulders are coming up, if they're anteriorly rotated, if your elbows are wide, man, that's going to put a lot of stress on your shoulders. So try and eliminate that. When I set up for a push-up, first of all, I'm going to think about how wide to place the hands. And unless I'm doing some kind of a variation like narrow grip or wide grip, I'm going to go pretty neutral, which means that my hand should be roughly under my shoulders. And I try and line my shoulders up somewhere with my knuckles here is where I want to line them on the floor. I'm going to have my index fingers pretty much in the 12 o'clock position, and fingers are going to be splayed. It helps a little bit with your balance, and it also evenly distributes the weight. And now, what you're going to think of here is, because you don't want your elbows to come wide, you're going to kind of almost corkscrew your hands. Now, they're not going to move on the floor. All you're doing is slightly twisting out, even though your hands won't move. What's going to happen is your humerus is going to move your upper arm so that your elbows will suddenly point back, and this, I'll call it an elbow pit, faces forward. So I'm not doing this, I'm rotating my arms, right? So when I'm setting up in my position, instead of being here, I'm going to go here. You see the difference? What that does, it's the same as on a bench press. When you're benching, you try and break the bar in half. What that does, you retract your shoulders and it engages your lats. So instead of being here, my lat is not engaged. My lats are these big, thick muscles right here below my armpit. When I rotate, straighten my arms and retract the shoulder, now that lat is fully engaged. What that does is it packs the scapula back here. It packs the scapula, protects your back, and takes all that excessive force out of your shoulders. So again, I'm going to set up. Weight is going to be more distributed against your pinky than it is on your forefinger here. Retract the shoulders, kind of corkscrew your hands a bit, and now, keeping that elbows nice and tight, perform your push-up. Okay? Simple as that. So what I'm doing on the eccentric, on the negative, when I'm lowering, I'm actually engaging those lat muscles and I'm pulling myself down to the floor. So think of it like you're actively pulling yourself down. You're not just letting gravity take yourself down, because what that's going to do, not only, as I said, does it pack the scapula, that action of pulling yourself down using your lats is kind of an antagonist against the pecs, the chest, and the triceps that end pushing it off. So you want to engage the antagonist muscle before the other one kicks in. So it's actually going to help you produce more positive force for the other part of the push-up. So once more, shoulder width apart, my forefinger is kind of in the 12 o'clock position. I'm going to place my shoulders just right around my knuckles, maybe slightly below. I'm going to retract my shoulders and corkscrew my hands, kind of turning them into the floor so that the weight is against the pinkies, my lats are engaged, pull myself down before I push off. If that cue of pulling yourself down, you don't quite get it, think of doing a recline row. Think of doing an equalizer row, or think of doing a ring row or something like that, how you have to pull. These are the muscles you're using. The other point I'll make, in addition to taking the stress off the shoulders, you also want to protect your lower back. So that means one of the push-up commandments, thou shalt not sag. Don't sag on your push-ups. No sagging and arching. So your setup for the push-up position should not look like this, okay? Because I'm arching my back. that is going to put stress on my back. I need to flatten out my lower back. In order to do that, I need to tuck my tailbone underneath. It's called a posterior pelvic tilt. So you take your hips, kind of tuck them under, squeeze your glutes a little bit. Watch what happens to my shape. So instead of being arched here, I'm just going to tuck my tail like this, retract the shoulders. That's a much better position for doing a push-up. Okay? If you want to check yourself out, you can use a broomstick. I have a piece of PVC. Hopefully this will work. If I slightly posterior pelvic tilt, I'm also going to try and maintain a fairly neutral head and spine. Again, pack that scapula, use your lats, push yourself down, pull yourself down before you push back up again. All right? When I see push-ups done for speed, you really see sloppy stuff, all right? So again, think about the longevity of your training. Think about the effectiveness of your training. Think about perfect push-ups. And let's get them done. Thanks, guys.